As the end of the Premier League season approaches, the relegation battle's hotting up and so is the race for the European places. So let's go through every team's chances and predict what's going to happen come the end of May. So there is only one place to start, and we're going to start with the relegation battle. This is the Premier League table currently. It's important to note that the scores on your screen is live because Crystal Palace are currently beating Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield, which I do hope happens, but I feel like Liverpool are going to end up winning that game, so we're going to take that into account. And Fulham are also winning 1-0 away at West Ham, but I think they're pretty much safe anyway. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. We're going to go to about 16th, I think. I think Brentford is safe and teams above them are safe, but we're not going to talk about Sheffield United because I'm sorry if you're a Sheffield United fan watching this video, but you're pretty much as good as down in my opinion. You know, how many points adrift are you? 10 points adrift. You do have one game in hand, but genuinely one of the worst Premier League teams I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I'm 26 years old. I don't even know how you've got that many points, to be honest. So we're going to put Sheffield United 20th and then speak about Burnley, Luton, Forest and Everton. Let's get into it. So we're going to start with Burnley. Burnley are a weird team, man, because a lot at the start of the season, you had all the EFL shaggers and all the EFL fans saying that Burnley are going to come up and shot the Premier League, going to be safe easily, they spent the money wisely, company's a good gaffer, they're going to come 12th or something, and might even push for top half. And I knew that wasn't going to happen because we've had this. These are the new Norwich. We had that with Norwich for fucking years when everyone said, oh, look at the football they play, look at what Daniel Farke's doing there, look at the players that they've got, they're going to stay up easily. And they come up and try and do the same thing in the Premier League that they did in the Championship. We're pretty much the same squad and it's never going to work. So let's get into their games and predict them. Obviously, they've only got 5 games left. They do have a big one away at Sheffield United. And the weird thing is with Burnley, if they somehow manage to put a run together and win a few of these games, they'd have a very, very slim chance of staying up. Sheffield United away, I think they win that. That's 3 points. Man United away, after that Bournemouth game last night, I'm not too sure, lads, but I'm going to back United to win that one. Newcastle at home, that's going to be a bit of a tricky one. Obviously, Newcastle are quite a counter-attacking defensive side, which doesn't help Burnley, and they're probably going to be pushing for the European places as well, possibly even top 6, which we'll get on later in the other half of this video. But I'm going to back Newcastle to win that. They've got Spurs away, who will want to solidify top 4, top 5, and the Spurs at home, they're going to beat Burnley there. And then the final day, this could, even if Burnley are down at this point, this game against Nottingham Forest could have a huge impact on Nottingham Forest season and Burnley season, Everton season, Luton season, everyone around that drop zones. This is a really interesting one. But again, I think at this point of the season, Burnley are going to be as good as down anyway, and they're going to kind of give up a bit. And I'm going to back Nottingham Forest to win that one when the backs are up against a wall, and they potentially might need a win to stay in the Premier League on the final day. So that, unfortunately, you know, avoiding any massive slip-ups from other teams or some crazy results mean that Burnley will only gain 3 more points, in my opinion, from now to the end of the Premier League season, which is the next game against Sheffield United next weekend. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, to be honest, I think everyone pretty much knows Burnley's going down anyway. The only real one that's a bit of a, not a foregone conclusion, that there's a bit of chat around is the 18th place. So let's get into that and talk about Luton. Now, before we predict Luton's results, I just want to say, I really want them to stay in the Premier League. I don't know what it is about a Bobbins team that wears orange kits in the Prem, but I just immediately love them. I was the exact same with Blackpool. They played like exciting football, always tried the best, just dealt with what they've got and just tried to win every game. And that's kind of what Luton do. Obviously, they're quite defensive, but I can take some kind of joy in that when a team's trying to be really defensive and just hit teams on a break and knows what they are and doesn't try and do something stupid like Burnley have done. So I do respect them for that, and I do really want to see them stay in the Premier League. Just one reason would be, it would just be nice to see one team that's come up stay up this season. If they don't, that means all 3 newly promoted teams from the Championship last season go straight back down, which isn't a great advert for the Championship or the Premier League, really, with the levels of competitiveness there. So I do really want Luton to stay up, but that's not going to play into these predictions. And I'm not going to lie, lads, looking at these games that they've got here, I'm quite hopeful for Luton. They've got Brentford at home next week, and Brentford are pretty much on the beach. They didn't do, I think they drew 2-2 yesterday. Can't remember who with, actually, but they're going to be on the beach. They're not going to be anywhere near going down, I don't think. They're not anywhere near the European places. Again, they've not got much to play for, and as I said in my last video, this massively plays into teams' mentality in these games towards the end of the season. If they've got anything to play for, they're going to play a higher level. It's a mentality thing. So I'm going to back them to beat Brentford. Wolves away, that's a sticky one. Wolves are a good team. I do like Wolves. They drew 2-2 with Brentford yesterday. That's who they drew with, actually. I'm not too sure on that one. I think I mean, if I'm being realistic, I'm going to back Wolves to win that one. Then Everton at home is a massive game. It's a massive, massive game. At 8 PM, I presume it's a Monday night football, and I am going to back Luton to win that one at home to Everton. I think the home atmosphere, which is good compared to the other two sides that have come up this season, especially Burnley at home anyway, it's a bit of a cauldron there. Everton at the minute, they don't look like they have that mentality. They just had another 2-point deduction. So I'm going to back Luton to beat Everton at home and win what could be, and hopefully will be for Luton, a massive relegation 6-pointer. Then West Ham away, they're going to be playing for Europe. They look quite good at the minute. I'm going to back West Ham to beat Luton at the London Stadium. And then the final game of the season, they're going to have an on-the-beach Fulham when Luton are fighting for their lives. They have good quality up front. They might have had a bio back by then, I'm not quite sure. I don't mind how they're playing at the minute. Yes, they've lost a couple of games heavily against like City and stuff, but across the board, if you look at those results, 1-1 to Palace, 4-3 to Bournemouth, 1-1 with Forest, you know, 2-1 to Spurs, 2-0 to Arsenal, beating Bournemouth 2-1. They're all pretty respectable results given their team and their squad. So I'm going to back Luton to beat Fulham at home on the final day. And fingers crossed we'll see at the end of this if that keeps them up. Then next, we've got Nottingham Forest. Forest are a weird team, man, because they've got a very good squad. Yes, Awani's been out recently, but Wood's kind of compensated for that and been decent. I just think getting Nuno in was a bit of a bizarre appointment, really. Cooper's been there a long time. The fans loved him. The players obviously loved him as well. And I mean, he brought 23 of them there in one fucking transfer window. So they're all going to like him naturally for giving them that chance at the club in the Premier League. So I do find it a bit of a bizarre one. And as you can see, the defence has been quite solid, but the results haven't really got any better since he got rid of Cooper. I don't think they're any further away from the relegation zone now as they were when he sacked him, so that could come back to bite them in the arse, especially with building in the Championship next season if they do go down. With all the money they've spent and the point production they've just had, they're really going to struggle and could end up... I mean, I hope they don't. I hope they don't. They're not one of these clubs that goes out of business, you know, with the financial fair play and administration and all that and drop through the leagues like we've seen with your Charlton, your Portsmouth, your Bolton, your Derbys, Wigans, Blackpools, the list fucking goes on. So they start the game next weekend away at Everton. And that, again, is a big one. I'm a big fan of a lot of these teams facing each other. As you can see in these last 5 games on the right-hand side of your screen, Forest play 3 teams in and around the relegation zone at the minute, which is going to be absolutely massive. Everton away, I think, to be honest, I'm going to back Everton to win that with their atmosphere at home. They're going to need a win, another points deduction. They're going to be up for it. If this was at Forest Ground, at the City Ground, I might back them, but I'm going to back Everton to win that one. Man City at home, they've not got a cat in hell's chance. Man City are fighting for the title. They're going to win that one. They will beat Sheffield United away. I think they'll do that. I think they'll get a draw at home to Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea are that good. And I do think they'll beat Burnley away, like we've just said. So that's actually not too bad. But will it be enough to keep them up? Who knows? We're going to go into the last team I think we're going to look at now, and that is Everton. Now, obviously, the massive difference here of Everton is they've got a lot more games to play. They've got pretty much 2 games in hand with every team around them. They've only played 31. The rest of the other teams have pretty much all played 33, which is going to make a massive difference because they're one of the teams that looks like getting dragged into it right now. But if they win those games in hand and do well in them, they might be already out of it by the final day. One of them is Liverpool, though, and I don't know who the other one is. So let's get into it. I mean, Everton are a weird one. They're a weird one because at the start of the season and stuff, they started really, really well under Dyche, and then since then they've been very inconsistent. And he had this spell where they kind of had a bit between the teeth for the points deduction, went on a decent run, and since then they have been really poor. As you can see, they've got, what, 1 win in the last 5 or something like that, possibly even more. So it's a last 8, 6, 7, really. A lot of them have been 1-1s, 1-0s, 2-0s and stuff like that. So Chelsea away. Again, I think a massive thing for Everton here is if they're at home or not. That's a big, big advantage. That crowd is rocking. They always back the team. They kind of got that siege mentality under Dyche. They're a bit like a beat at Chelsea in a way under Mourinho. They're just bastards, and the crowd just want to see them win the game and always back them. And they have got a decent amount of home games here, so that's good. But Chelsea away, I can't see them winning that. Chelsea look a little bit better recently. If they win some of their games, they could push towards Europa League places, which for Chelsea isn't an achievement, but given where they were earlier in the season, isn't that bad. Forest at home, obviously we're backed Everton to win that one already. Then we've got a Merseyside derby and have the potential to do something really funny, like I said in yesterday's video. And I think I did predict a draw there, so we're going to stick with that one. Then we've got Brentford at home. I think they'll beat Brentford at home. Brentford won't have anything to play for at this point. I think they beat Brentford at home. Luton away, I think they lose that one, as I've already said. Sheffield United at home, Everton are going to win that one easily. And then Arsenal away on the final day could potentially be a team trying to stay in the Premier League and a team trying to win it. So the different dynamics there are going to be quite good. Again, if this was at Goodison, it'd be a different kettle of fish, especially for Arsenal, given how this can play on the title race on the final day. But I expect Arsenal to still be fighting for the Premier League title then, are a much better team with better quality. They're going to want to to bring that Premier League trophy home to the Emirates for the first time in 20 odd years. So I'm going to back Arsenal to beat them. So with that being said, that is all the predictions done for the team in and around the drop zones. So let's get to it and see who I've got staying in the Premier League and who I've seen getting relegated. Because to be honest, I've not done the totting up yet. I've got no idea myself, so I'm quite intrigued. So here we go. Here is the final Premier League drop zone at the end of the season. As you can see, I've got Sheffield United and Burnley going down naturally, as I think we knew anyway from what I said earlier. But I actually have Forest going down and Luton staying up. I've got Forest finishing on 33, Luton on 34, and Everton way out of it by the end of the last day of the season on 37. So that'll be quite interesting. I think whatever happens, it will be quite close. Maybe I'm overrating Luton slightly here, but they've got some easy home games, I think, with their atmosphere and the teams that they're playing. So I think they're going to get some wins. And if this happens for Forest, they could be absolutely fucked, man. If this really happens, they're going to lose all the players, potentially the manager. They're going to go into administration. They're going to be a bit goose. So I do want Luton to stay up, and it would be sorry if that happens for Forest, but I'd be very happy with this. We don't want Everton to go down either because they're a massive team in the Premier League. So yeah, there we go. Let me know what you think of those predictions in the comments below and who you've got staying up and going down. But now it is time to get into the top four, fourth to seventh, the European places. So here we go. We're going to predict the European places now, all the way from fourth down to seventh, because I think that's pretty much Champions League to Conference League, is it? I'm not quite sure. Eighth place might get Conference League this year. I think it might do, but we're not going to bank on that. We're going to do 4th to 7th anyway, because no one really gives a shit about Conference League. Apologies if you're an Aston Villa fan. So we're going to start, basically, I think anywhere from Chelsea up to Villa as contention of getting in the top 4 to 7 this year. I think Brighton are a bit off it, you know, the same points as Chelsea, but Chelsea have a couple of games in hand on the teams around them. So, yeah, we're going to do those teams. Let's get into this bit. So, starting with the Chelsea. They've got a lot of games. Obviously, some of these are pre-season friendly, so ignore those. But they've got a lot of games, including a cup semi-final sandwiched in the middle of it. They've got a lot in hand. The Chelsea are such a weird team. Obviously, they beat United 4-3 the other week, and that absolutely fucking sent me fizzing, sent my head to Mars. I was fucking crestfallen. I didn't even know how to react after that game. It was so fucking weird. But they're one of these teams that look all right at times, and then look absolutely terrible at others, and will shoot themselves in the foot with defensive errors and you know, personal mistakes, which is a bit of a weird one. But I don't know the weird. I don't know where to rate them, but we're going to get into it anyway. Let's predict Chelsea's games. So Everton at home, I've already predicted that one. I think they'll win that. Arsenal away, Arsenal are going to beat Chelsea. Let's be honest. I don't really want to elaborate on that too much. Arsenal are a much better team. I'd be massively shocked if Chelsea got anything. Aston Villa away is a big one in the race for the top 4, 5 and the Europa League places for Chelsea as well. But I'm going to back Aston Villa to win that one. They're playing quite well recently. I just expect them to at home as well, under the lights, 8 o'clock Saturday kickoff. That's shit, but I expect Villa to win that one. Spurs at home. Again, this is a big one. They've got some big games, Chelsea, here against teams around them in the European places, and they could have the potential. I'm going to be honest, I think Spurs will probably get top 4 or 5 anyway. So, you know what? I'm going to back Chelsea to win that one. I think they beat Spurs at home. They always seem to have their number, and when it really matters, they seem to get the win over them. And Chelsea are one of these weird teams. They kind of they'll probably lose to like a West Ham or a Brighton, and then raise the level when they play United, or Liverpool, or Chelsea, or Arsenal, or City, or Spurs. They always do that all the time. So I'm expecting a beat Spurs at home. West Ham at home, I think they win that as well. Then they've got Forest away, and obviously I back Chelsea to win that one. I'm pretty sure. I actually can't remember what I said before. So we'll flip back to that now. I don't know, but what did I say? That was literally like fucking 3 or 4 minutes ago. That's pathetic from me. And I can't watch the footage back, but I'm gonna, I don't know, let's predict this one all over again. I think I went for a draw. I think they'll get a draw at home to Chelsea. I'm going to go for a draw again, hopefully. Then Brighton away. I think Brighton will be on the beach by then, if you pardon the pun, with the ice lollies and the fucking seagulls. They're not going to have much to play for. I'm going to back Chelsea to win that one. And Brighton are quite brittle and massively overrated. And then Bournemouth at home on the final day. I think they'll win that one as well. Right, next up we have West Ham, the Hammers. Currently they are losing 1-0 at home to Fulham. I'm going to back that to be a draw for the sake of this video. Obviously they've got the Conference League sandwich in between this as well, but I expect them to go out against Leverkusen. I can't lie to you, especially if Leverkusen tie up the Bundesliga title today like I expect them to. They're going to be focusing on that massively and a bit more on the beach in the league. So I'm backing them to draw against Fulham and get an equaliser there. I'm backing them to draw away to Palace as well. Still a tough place to go. They're a tough team to break down. A bit of a London derby as well, so I think they'll draw there. Then they've got Liverpool at home who are going to be fighting for a Premier League title potentially. But again, Liverpool haven't been great. As I said, they're currently 1-0 down to Palace at half-time at the time of recording. So I am going to go for a Liverpool win there. Obviously, we said they'd lose away to Chelsea. I think think they'll beat Luton at home. Hopefully, I said that earlier. And I think they'll lose on the final day to Man City. They've got a really tough run in there. Palace aren't the best team, but away from home, it's tough. A Liverpool team that's fighting for a title. Chelsea is still Chelsea. Luton is a tough game still, even though I think they'll win it at home. And again, playing a team that potentially could try and win the Premier League title on the final day away. They've got a really tough run in, so it's not looking good if you're a West Ham fan. Now, next, we've got my team, Man United. And you might think I'm going to be biased in this. Trust me to fucking God, I am not going to be biased at all because I hate these lot at the minute. Obviously, drew 2-2 to Bournemouth yesterday, as you can see on the screen. If you want to see my reaction to that, go and watch my TikToks on it. I absolutely implode. I've calmed down a bit now, but last night I was a fucking mess. Few beers in, we know what it gets like. But we have got some easy fixtures, but the problem with Manchester United is no fixture is easy at the minute. We could play Burnley at home and make them look like prime Pep Barcelona in 2011. That is the worry. With that being said, I'm backing us to beat Sheffield United at home and Burnley at home because I don't think there's any potential way we lose those. I'm being dead serious with the quality we've got, with how poor Sheffield United and Burnley are, the own goals they score, the red cards they consistently get. I think we do win both of those games. Palace away, I do think is a tough one and we could potentially lose that, and I'm going to back us to lose that. I feel like we might do. Then we've got Arsenal at home. As I said yesterday, I think that'll be a draw. Then we've got Newcastle at home, which I do think will win, and I hope we win because that could be massive and make a difference between coming 6th or 7th or 8th this season. Because as much as I hate the Europa League, Manchester United being in the Europa Conference League would be absolutely vile. I wouldn't even watch it. Then we've got Brighton away on the final day. And again, Brighton don't look great at the minute, but Brighton always have our number, especially at the Amex. We do struggle to beat them all the time. So I'm going to go for a draw there. So a bit of a mixed bag for United, and I think that's what you'd expect at the minute given how we play. We could turn up really well and batter a team one week and then lose to Palace away the next week. That's just how we are. And next, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we've actually got Newcastle. I feel like they were terrible recently, and now they've turned it on, got a couple of good wins, as you can see. Fulham, West Ham, Wolves. They put some decent-ish results together, and they just kind of slowly crept up that table when a few months ago, well, even weeks ago, I thought they were out of contention for Europe altogether and would end up finishing 9th or 10th and Howard end up getting sacked. But he could save his season here by getting a Europa League finish and potentially save his job. So, Crystal Palace away, I think they'll win that one. I think Newcastle have a bit more bit between the teeth than United do, and United are much more likely to crumble under that pressure than Newcastle are. And obviously a really good 4-0 win at home to Spurs yesterday on the early kickoff. So I'm backing a beat Palace. As I said earlier, I'm backing them to beat Sheffield United. I think I said I backed them to beat Burnley as well. Then they've got Brighton at home. I'm going to back them to win that at home at St James's. Again, a Brighton team that's going to be relatively on the beach. Man United away, loss. And then Brentford away. Final day, Brentford are hard to play against. They've got some quality players up front. I think that's going to be a draw. And then finally, I don't really massively see the point in doing this because I think Spurs and Villa are going to get top 4 anyway. So, you know what? We're going to sack it off. I mean, if we look at the Premier League table, boys, I could sit here and predict it, but they're 10 points clear of any team below them with 6 games to play, and the teams around them aren't that good. I don't think there's any way in hell that, you know, United or Newcastle, even if they win all of their games towards the end of the season, Spurs and Villa don't at least win 2. Do you know what I mean? So I think they're both going to get top 4. So I'm just going to sack that off because I think I'd be predicting it and wasting my time and yours for absolutely no reason. But we are still going to show 4th to 7th, and I'm going to say who I think is going to finish higher than Villa and Spurs. You know what? Let's have a quick look at their fixtures and we'll just make a decision on a whim. Right, they're Villa's fixtures. Bear in mind they are on the same amount of points. And they're Spurs' fixtures. Right, I've made my decision. So there you go, lads. On the right-hand side of me again, we have got 4th to 9th in the Premier League. I've predicted Villa a pit Spurs to 4th just purely because I think they've got slightly better fixtures in the run-in. And I do think 5th will get Champions League anyway. I think that's all but confirmed now, so it doesn't really matter. Apart from Spurs might have to play a qualifier against some Kazakhstani farmers, so I'm sure you'll be fine. Then 6th, we've got Newcastle on 63 points. This is quite close between 6th to 8th. Then we've got United 7th, Manchester United coming 7th, our joint lowest Premier League finish of all time. Absolutely ridiculous, on 61 points. Then, even though I've got Chelsea winning a lot of the games, I've got them on 60 points just below United, but obviously that could change, and that could be the difference between Europa League and Conference League. And given where Chelsea were a couple of months ago, and this is going to sound bad because obviously Chelsea are a massive club and this isn't great for them at all, that isn't a bad finish, given that United were about 15 points ahead of them at one point. Then 9th, quite a far way back on 53 points. We do have West Ham falling out of the European places, and Moyes probably will lose his job because of it. So there we go. I think that's a fairly fair prediction. And if I mean, if you told me a couple of months ago when we were semi-battling with Spurs and Villa for top 4 and a few points off them that we'd end up finishing below a Newcastle side that have looked quite poor this season, I'd say you're absolutely stupid, but we're even worse. So, I mean, 7th and Europa League is the best that we can hope for, if I'm being quite frank at the minute. And as I said, 4th and 5th is locked in for me. You can choose your order, but that's who's going to be there. Villa finishing 4th will be quite cool. Having another new team that's not been in the Champions League, I don't think, in Premier League history anyway, back in there, like Newcastle were after a 20-year absence, will be quite cool. Just having new teams in there and showing the competitiveness of the Premier League once again. And that a team with spending well and getting a good manager in can take down the big boys, even if they are having some of the worst seasons ever in United and Chelsea. So there we go. There's my European predictions and my Premier League relegation predictions for the end of this season. Let me know what you think of them in the comments below. Like I said, for the other ones, tell me who you think's going to go. Tell me who you think's going to go down. Who's going to finish 4th to 8th and get in European places. If you think these are shit, that's completely fair. I wouldn't argue with it. They are predictions for a reason. And for the very last time and the very first time, that doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I mean, you've been watching a Dill's Footy Ramble YouTube production. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like if you did. Drop a subscribe if you are new and you want to see more of this riveting stuff. We will be bringing some more high-quality think pieces, kind of. I don't want to sound cringe to the channel in the next couple of weeks once the Premier League comes to a close. But, yeah, there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. See you in a bit. Cheers.